I'm going to introduce now Derrick Austin. I guess I'll do the same thing I did. I'll read the bio and then we'll talk about some other stuff. Derrick Austin is the author of Trouble the Water from is it Boa Editions? I wasn't sure, BOA or Boa. Yeah. We'll just say Boa. I like that better. I like thinking of snakes. Selected by Mary Seibest for the 2015 A. Pullen Jr. Prize. He is a Cave Canem Fellow and earned his MFA from the University of Michigan. Wolverines? Yeah. His work has appeared or is forthcoming in Best American Poetry 2015, Image, A Journal of Arts and Religion, New England Review, Callaloo, Nimrod, Porto del Sol, and elsewhere. He is the social media coordinator for The Offing. Now, two quick anecdotes about Derrick. First off, last night, have you guys ever driven from Orlando to Tampa before? It's a quick hour and a half drive, right? And there's like occasionally off to the right, as you drive from Tampa to Orlando, you'll see Airstream trailers turned end up and buried in the ground, other bizarre sights like that. Well, last night after that drive, Ryan and I and Derrick all went to a Prince dance party at Lil Indies, where functionally Literate is officially not allowed anymore after last time. But in fact, we went there in an unofficial capacity and had fun. It was fun. We had a good time. That's just to give you an idea of Derrick as a person, because I don't know. Is that a fair to say? Because you enjoyed that, right? You were interested in that, yeah. But Derrick's from Florida. He grew up here, and I love meeting and seeing authors from Florida go out and achieve. And again, there's an interview between Derrick and Erica Dawson up on Borough Press Review, which if you haven't looked at, please do. But one thing that came up in that interview is this idea of the unflinching view. And I don't know if that's a specifically Florida thing, but it's something that I like to think about a lot. And I love reading work that looks unflinchingly into topics that are not things we want to look unflinchingly at. And this is something I really value about Derrick's work. And I'm really excited to have Derrick read tonight. And I'll end on this note. When Erica Dawson introduces you to a poet, pay very close attention. And that's something I think about a lot. So please welcome Derrick Austin.
So this reading is special in a whole lot of ways. Firstly, it's my first reading with my book in my home state, so Florida. Secondly, it's also like a weird convergence of people in my life. I have like undergrad friends here. I've got a friend from high school who's here, and it's just like nexus of universes. And the final reason is that it's sort of, this reading comes as sort of like a weird week for me. Like it's been like weirdly stressful, personal life stuff, and then Prince dying, which freaked me out. And I had some ideas about what I wanted to read before I found out about Prince, and I completely changed my set list. Because I'm basically just gonna read inspired by Prince, for Prince. So I'm just gonna be decadent and sexy and black. Because that genius of a man like exploded the way that I thought about black masculinity, and he's a cosmos. He was and he is now. So this first poem that I'm gonna read is called Devotions. All night, you pace between our bed and another room in the house, fetching glasses of water when you mean shots of gin. The candle doesn't catch your naked body, a leg, the cut of stubble, only the shadow of its leaving, the whole of you uncontainable like the moon, its kissable face and its darker chambers. Mary offers her mangled son, a matchmaker from the dollar store votive by the bed. Other nights, John the Baptist rolls his eyes at me. You're the one who stayed, or at least never left. You stay because of hard rain or dead magnolia on the drive, or is it custom for the wounded to care for the wounded? Where are you? I need a solitary room with you in it. Wall me in, lie down on me. And y'all don't have to clap after every poem. Like, I appreciate it, but like, it's all good. Ghost Slipper. Before merchant ships were bound to the harbor by closed trade routes, they traveled east with spring's warm wind for lapis lazuli, azurite, and indigo. To acquire devil's blue, painters crushed the stones and mixed the powder with linseed oil. Eastern goods were lost, so they used charred wood to blacken the skins of demons and render the flesh of Berbers, Moors, and Africans. The oldest fresco in the city depicts the Queen of Sheba, received by Solomon and 12 jeweled retainers. Though in the story he will be abandoned, it is she who remains. His throne faded in a flood, his pale pigments didn't last a century. Her hands, delicate as sparrows, gesture toward the ghost of his slipper. She still loves what failed. Y'all can't be stopped. I love it. So, another awesome thing about tonight is that Beyonce is dropping something called Lemonade, and it's happening like right after the reading ends. So if anybody has HBO, let's meet and we'll watch it in the corner. But I have a poem in the book called Bow Down after the song she released a couple years ago, because I just wanted to take on some of that reckless energy. And it's also funny that I'm reading this because I'm also thinking about Christopher Marlowe and Shakespeare, and it's also Shakespeare's birthday today. So, yes, of course. So, yeah, Bow Down, and this is for Beyonce and Shakespeare. Both fucking geniuses. Let's talk of graves, of worms, and what then? Are we that silent moment on the stage when kings are out of rules and fools of puns? Remember crossing the bridges by the sea, you, a stranger here, asking the name of the tree ruffled with purple. It was knowledge, a kind of lording over another, as when, sunning at a pool, you dipped one leg in the water, as if you were given all its crowns. Before you drifted into my life, waiting in the wings, I said no to so much. Nudging me, you said, please, put it in your mouth. You do this to me. Kings, wait to see who will kneel. I've forgotten my line. Is this when I abdicate the throne or bruise you with my scepter? I beg your pardon. I would resign the crown 1,000 times to kneel at your feet. What kind of king am I? I'm just as lost as you. Drifter, stardust, little marsh light. You are known by so many names: Bassanio, Gaveston. Try a new skin: friar, courtier, dominance, submission. It's all foreplay, role play. We bow, the curtain falls, another night. Oh, okay, that's cute too. That's cute, I'm into that. I have a poet friend of mine who says that you can't call yourself a poet until you write a poem about Persephone, but but I'm of the school that thinks that you can't call yourself a poet until you write about drag queens. So this is my drag poem. Torch Song. They call me ma'am here in the Sunshine Lounge. The daddies and twinks weary even the beginning of their lives. They call me Lena, after Dietrich and Horn, of course. Their blue angel, their black piece of ass when beer's cheap. Take a seat, unbutton your collar, buy us a drink. I'm singing slow tonight, feathers swishing like the hair of a riled hound. Like my gown, I pricked my fingers so many times sewing these gold sequins. I'm a star. They call me Southern Cross, and they know what they like. They take long swigs from long necks. I'm pierced. That's where the light shines through. I'm less than woman and more than man, light rocketing off my body, wig a dollop of blonde. Listen, baby. When I open my arms to the crowd and mouth the night's first note, I don't sing, you singe. So this next one that I'm going to read is also super special to read because I stole the form from Erica Dawson because she's a genius. And this poem that I'm going to read is this sadistic sestina that Erica did. And if you know anything about the form, like there's N words that you have to use consistently and they all alternate. But Erica decided to just do away with all that and just use the same word for the entire 36 lines of the poem. And I, in my insanity and vanity, decided to do the same thing. So this poem is dedicated to her, and also it's after her, because I couldn't have done this and so many other poems in this book without her and her work. So this is for you. I love you so much. Blaxploitation. Another night of, I'm not usually into black guys, but, and I'm alone with Johnny Walker Black in too many movies. I'm not offended. No black moods at all. I'll watch The Seventh Seal, black chess pieces slaying white, live or die, Bergman's blackest phase. See, I'm not mad, but if I were Black Death right now, I'd slaughter love. Fade to black. Brides-to-be would roll around in ash, blacken their dresses in veils and rivers black as tar. Gather your roses, dye them red to black. Then they'd hear the gallop, metal no blacksmith could forge, flaming, sparking the black hooves of four horses, red, green, black, and white. Who's that? Hallelujah, a miracle. Black skies part and resurrected love blacks my eyes and rubs me out beneath his black soul. No more pain. I'm better. Fade to black. Bergman's done. I need magic. I call a trick. It's black and white. He's red all over. I love my black boy's sore. He can't grip my hair, black Brillo pad. My body, let's get physical. Black body principle. I'm light and afterglow. Blackout. Give me that nigger dick. His boot black, I gave all of him a shining. Shocked a black man took that, I've heard his shit before. Black's an absence, no stimulation for the eyes, black pupil, but I'm right here, still whole. Black don't crack. And he, once you go black, got off just fine. Sleepless, we debate watching a black comedy or a foreign flick. How about Black Orpheus? On the news, another case of black on black. Where's the white on black, the tone on tone, no nuance here. The screen blackens and stutters over an ad for black narcissists coming soon to Blu-ray. Blue-black night hymns into dawn. I'm feeling blaxploitation. How about coffee? I am black but beautiful, razor blades all up in my hair, black power. He touches me by not knowing how. So this next poem that I'm going to read isn't in the book, but I wanted to read it since this night is sort of like a reunion of sorts in a lot of ways, and this poem is dedicated to my best friend, Cody, who's an English major, and an amazing drag queen, sorceress, provocateur. And this poem is called Having a Rum and Coke with You. 1. Beats the Degas, the Musée des Demi-Arts, as you cleverly called it. A tour of pastel dancers past their prime, flaunting Tool and Parisian Couture. Fuck it, let's smoke a cigarette. We walk to 4 green fields. The bartender says we drink like artists, where Monet and Renoir, under a thatched roof they would have loved, drinking their debts, arguing where the light falls best, the distance between easel and vision. Which friend will find a buyer next? Which painting will hang in damp, neglected galleries? A woman with a parasol and nowhere to go. A girl with a watering can pouring out the sun. 2. It's your turn to pick up the tab, you don't complain. This is the last time we'll walk to my place together, the city backlit by dusk. We dream of starring in a Merchant Ivory film with light like this, demi-mondes lounging all day, sprawled and complicated as a Jamesian sentence. In whalebone corsets, we'd whirl through a montage of gossip, white rum, and men, until our Oscar-winning close-up and cameos pinned like amber tears, and you ask, how long will we pay loans? Why do we read and study artifice, we, a pair of artless students? 3. In the club, drag queens strut like peacocks, throw shade across the floor. They make it work. We've all got bills to pay. But us, we buy a final round of shots, sweeter for our ennui. Strobe lights rattle green, gold, and red. Boys disappear. We lose our buzz. Even the queens won't perform, too busy preening their feathers. We're not French, but in the Belle Epoque of our 20s, futures unsure and uninsured, let's raise a glass. Rum stings our throats, cut cane. We drink until Paris glows inside our minds. A disco ball, a shot glass shattering. We drink until Paris burns. So, speaking of Paris on fire, how many of you guys know about Paris is Burning? Oh my God, y'all are in for a treat. Okay, so after y'all go home tonight and buy Erica's books, go to Netflix and watch Paris is Burning. So Paris is Burning is a documentary that came out in the early 90s that's about the ballroom scene in New York City where voguing originated. And it's populated largely by gay men and trans women of color. And this poem has an epigraph, and it's one of like the more popular quotes. It's full of amazing quotes, so you guys really need to check it out. And this one is from Junior LaBeija, and it goes, OPULENCE, opulence. You own everything. Everything is yours. And I think this is one of the most beautiful lines in it, especially as a queer person, as a black person in a world where it's like, you gotta fight just to breathe. And just to this is sort of a mantra for me, I think, and also sort of like an Ars Poetica. So this poem is called Opulence. I've sashayed into your life from another time. Silk ascot and Oxfords as they take a turn around the garden. I'm dolled in lace and whalebone corset, crying in a mirrored hall. There's no sweeter sound than the opera of indulgence. A waltz I've whirled with Mozart. Why watch countesses when the ballroom is up the block? Let's vogue and duck walk, our bodies barked into motion, house music slinks and shivers. My soul is velvet, sovereign, black. Princess Cece's bright salon, her plaited hair is damp with tears. Pissing from a gondola, the gardens of Bamarzo, just off Ibiza, Amanda Brognac fills our cups. McQueen, Met Gala, the ambiance of coffee when you hate it. Tilda Swinton's cheekbones, the abs on Cristo della Minerva, legendary Leomi Mizrahi. Opulence is felt and heard. It's darling. Darling, come away with me. Darling, lick the sugar cube inside my mouth. Darling, dust the chandelier. Darling, read your Henry James. Darling, gossip ruins lives. Darling, bend. Darling, leather. Darling, can you tell a life? Darling, do you have a self? You deserve it, darling. Darling, read your history. Darling, call me sir. Vespers. This is for some friends of mine. Lord, in the pigment, the crushed colored stones, Lord, in the carved marble chest, I turn away from art. You are between my eye and what I see. Forgive my errant gaze. Tonight, I can't sleep and won't frighten the deer in my peonies. Like children who rub their grimy hands over everything, they only want to touch and be touched by grass. They've never known violence, cars howling out of darkness. Lord in the camellia, drifting in and out of sight, like those blushing, perfumed heads, will you welcome me? I, too, am little more than a stranger in your garden. Stroke my velvety antlers, open your palms. Jezebel. Where dusk's last minutes collected along the curves of Tanqueray bottles, mosquitoes swerved, having had their fill of gin-flushed blood. I nursed a long neck by the cooler, catfish on ice jeweled with flies. You were slick and coffin-sharp. You promised to make it snow in May, which reminds me too late of Borges on Love and Fallible Gods. I believed the world crystallized for you. Snow collected on the crown of my head. No, you flicked cigarette ashes on me. Touch me, touch me. Oh, hounds of memory, all night lapping and gnawing my palms. And I'm gonna close out this reading with a poem that's set in Tampa. It's also super fun to read in Florida because they don't have to explain any Florida things really, which is great. So this poem is set in Tampa Museum, so if you know that area, you'll know the River Rock and all that goodness. And it's also a poem that talks about the BP oil spill that happened a few years back. And this is Persian Blue, and thanks again everybody for coming out, and to Vidu and you amazing high school poets. Like, just to stand up here and read in front of an audience, I could never have done that. So, Persian Blue. 1. We leave the jewels and daggers, a long wool rug whose dyes have deepened to rust. You don't notice. Near the exit, 2 guards chat about the spill. A sea blue bowl dazzles me, its crackler like arteries, blue ink flowing where blood would be. No one knows the name of the woman in the porcelain, offering a man sweet cakes. Could she be Scheherazade, each night always the first, cushions unchanged, pastries never stale? They've been buried centuries, no one to complete the story. Is it still that dark underwater, the guards ask? You tell them of the dead zones, cloudy-eyed fish covered in sores and scars, of fishermen, their nets slack with fewer crayfish and oysters. I come when you call, swept away from the bowl, full of unfulfillment and down terrace steps. In the park by the Riverwalk, children dodge jets of water, their joyful noise sharp as crystals. The brown Hillsborough River flows into the bay and circles the dozens of spoil islands. 2. Tonight, our 1002nd night, tell me the story of our laughter through sudden summer rain. Tell me the story of salt on your shoulder, chest, and chin. Tell me how that first week we seemed to know our pasts by heart, where we'd been and where we planned to go. Tell me the story of how we woke up wet in each other's arms and watched the Gulf widen into deep water where, beyond our vision, an explosion claimed 11 workers, smoke billowing skyward, a dark reflection of the darkness below. Who's to blame? Who knew what? We can't keep any story straight. 3. Somewhere, the Gulf still rolls brightly ashore. After oily booms were hauled in, dispersants and matted wings, closed for business and wringing hands, and thousands of small fish pale as plaster dust. On that shore, crabs shuffle out at night and mate. We watch gulls float down the old river, vanishing under a bridge, plastic bottles idle in bilge, until an unseen current carries them away. The way will part. Across the river, the university gleams, its confection of bricks and minarets like gingerbread with icing dusted silver. Perhaps Scheherazade's bowl, its story inked into bone and china clay, would fill for us with wine. We would trade it between our lips and see the picture rise with every sip, while our faces warm and you tell me the story in which I mistake you for the story. Thank you.